Hi there! My name is AruvaChan, and today I'm going to be talking about being bullied. Being bullied as a kid, basically, and what it can do to you. So I was a scrawny little nothing, little ball of fire when I was little, and I would often do things without thinking, and I basically just did what I wanted. And a lot of people, they would not understand why I did things. And now, I can't really say that I did things to do things. Like, I had some sort of idea why I wanted to do something. Like, if I saw my brother climbing a tree, I would want to climb a tree. Or if I saw a squirrel, I would probably run out into the road because there was a squirrel there. And a lot of the times that would get me in trouble at home, or even with my teachers at school, and I would constantly be bullied for not thinking. Like, you should probably think more. Like, oh. So after a few times of being told you should probably think more, well, more than a few times actually, after being told however many times that you should think more, I started to think a little more. And I really started to think about why people were telling me these things. And I was a rambunctious kid, for a better word. I did what I said what I wanted, and a lot of the times it really did get me in trouble. I can't tell you how many times I got in trouble for just saying things. Oops, that was my phone, sorry. I won't say any of the things because when I was little I was not nice. I was a very mean kid. But the things I did were either out of retaliation or even just, I don't know why I did a lot of things when I was a kid. I remember when I was really young, maybe it was because I had a crush on this kid, but I would chase this kid around and I would kick him. And I told my little brother to kick him. And eventually I got caught by a teacher, and she was like, "Why would you kick that person?" And I was like, I don't really know. But those kinds of things led me to think more about my actions and of what other people thought of me. And the more you think, the more that's not true. The more people tell you about yourself, the more self-aware you are. And I guess I became too self-aware, and I started receding back into my self, basically. Like, I was always bullied when I was younger. Mostly bullied because I would say things that sounded stupid or didn't make sense, so I would have to explain myself and everybody wouldn't get it, because the way my brain thinks is instead of going from point A to point B to point C to point D, my brain goes A to D, assuming that point B and point C are known. So if I jump around at any time, you kind of know why, and most of the time I try to catch myself, but a lot of the times I can't help it because my brain's just going 20,000 miles a minute. So if I ever do that, just comment and say, "Hey, I don't really understand what you meant when you said cucumber soda jack squat. Like, please help me." And I will definitely explain a little bit better because I don't know. I think fast, and that didn't really help when I talked fast, because I would talk and then I would go and then people would make fun of that. So I often was very hot-headed as a kid, and I would get mad at people for not understanding me and for not, being nice to me about me not being able to talk right or whatever. My childhood, I was one of those kids who, if they got upset or they didn't like something, they would hiss. And yes, yes, that was me. I was the one who hissed. And looking back at it, I don't really regret doing that because it kept people I didn't like away from me. And I mean, it did get me name called a few times, and my family still teases me about it, but I don't know. It was one of those things you do in self-defense, I guess. Like, instead of punching and kicking people because I was not allowed anymore, I hissed at them, and that got me teased. And I remember a lot of different times where kids just aren't very nice in general, but I hung out basically with a group of boys sometimes, and they would mock how I sounded, like mock the way I talked, and like I moved around a lot, so they would mock the way the words I said sounded. Like, my parents also moved a lot, so I've picked up a few different, I guess, colloquialisms. So I say things differently, but, you know, after like a year or so of being around whoever, I sort of pick them up. But a lot of people don't understand why you use a different word or why you sound different, so they make fun of you for it, they pick at you. And me, being the super self-conscious, 11-year-old, I did not like that, and I retaliated. I would call them names, or I would, like, shoot them a dirty look. And that never works. Do not do that. That literally just makes everything worse. The best thing to do is just to ignore everything. I'm serious. I can't tell you how many times I've retaliated and it's only gotten worse. But when you're 11, you don't really understand that. So anyway, I remember a lot of things. This one kid in my class, he made fun of the way I said a word. I was like, what do you mean? Like, I said that fine. He's like, no, it's supposed to be banana. And like, I would say it the same way he said. He's like, no, that's wrong. And at that point, you're like, okay, they're just messing with me now. And another time, I had to sit. You have to ride the bus when you're a little kid, or if you live close enough to school, you can walk, which I did when I was in elementary school. But when I got up into middle school, I had to ride the bus because the middle school was probably like 1.5 miles away, maybe 2 miles. So I couldn't walk, and my mom couldn't really walk me or drive me because reasons, I guess. She had a job, I guess. No, she did have a job. She couldn't drive me because she was busy and with her actual job, so we took the bus. That and driving is expensive, so we took the bus. And oftentimes it was, you could sit anywhere you wanted, and it was usually 6th graders in the front, 7th graders in the middle, and 8th graders got the back. Now, when I was in 7th grade, I had to sit in between these two girls. Except they were best friends, and I didn't really know them. They just kind of lived near me. They were best friends, and they did not want to share a seat with me. So they sat together, and I was on the outside of the seat, which wouldn't be too bad because the bus seats aren't that small. But I remember what they did. They put their book bags in between them where I was supposed to sit, and I had to sit basically hovering on the outside of the chair, which I don't know why the bus driver didn't ever see, because I was literally out. Maybe it's because I was a chubby kid, but I don't know. I was basically standing in the aisle, like my one butt cheek was hardly on the chair. And a lot of the times I went home, because when the bus takes you home, I don't know, I used to get off early because I didn't like that. It made me feel bad. Like, I would walk, I don't know, not too far, but blocks, just so I could get home faster. Like, it was worth it not having to sit there and feel humiliated. And I often went home because I'm a very emotional person, I went home and I cried about it, and my mom would often say things like, oh, they're just jealous of you, or they don't like you because you're prettier than them, or whatever. And my 11-year-old or 12-year-old self at that point did not believe that. Like, no way. They're not jealous of me. They're angry at me, or they just don't like me for whatever reason, which honestly, it could be possible, but it's more likely that they didn't like me because I was weird, which it's not a bad thing to be weird, but when you're 12 and you bark or hiss, that's a little weird. A little weird. A little bad to be weird. But, that moves me into being 12, basically. I had to move to a new school where I didn't know anybody. This is like the second time I remember moving. So I had to make a whole plethora of new friends, which in itself is not a bad thing because, I don't know, sometimes you just need a new look on life, a change. And I got to the new school and I made a friend basically on the first day of school. She was my best friend. Like, I still look back fondly on those memories. And she would often stick up for me because she knew a lot of the kids. And I really, really appreciated that. Like, I've never had anybody stick up for me like that. Because I'm so full of self-doubt that whenever somebody says something now, I think maybe they're right. Maybe I am smelly, or maybe I do need to take a shower, or whatever, something like that. I was in a class once with a guy who I kind of liked. Like, I don't know. When I was in middle school, I got a crush on a lot of guys. But I was talking to him, and he asked me, he's like, do you have dandruff? Because apparently there was something white on the desk, and I said, no. He was like, well, how about you shake your head and, like, rub your hands through your hair? So I did. And, like, I was so ready to be made fun of, because in winter I do get dandruff. Like, I have to use special shampoo for it, and I'm, like, very conscious of it. And it's not a problem for me because I do shampoo it and, like, I take care of my head, but I was so worried that that would actually happen and, like, the teasing to start again. And basically he just turned away and just said, okay. I'm like, whew, crisis averted. I have a huge problem with people actually liking me now because I was bullied so much back in middle school, basically. Like, you couldn't like anybody at all because you literally, it would get dragged out of you who you liked, and then somebody would tell them. And that was, oh my god, that was a no. You cannot tell somebody you can't tell somebody else likes them. Because one, it makes them look bad, and two, if they don't like them, then they're never going to talk to them again. Ooh, I had a friend in 2nd grade. I remember this still because it emotionally scarred me. I had a friend in 2nd grade who I was telling, she was really smart and she never took a day off. Like, she had perfect attendance her whole entire, like, school career. Really crazy. I was telling her, because I thought she was cool, that I had a crush on somebody. And I remember his name was Jeffrey. And I said, I really like him, and I think he's really cute. And, like, the year before I had given him a Valentine with a unicorn on it. And I don't really think boys like that, but I had drawn it myself, and I was really excited to give it to him. And this boy who was sitting next to her, he was like, wait, what are you talking about? I'm like, nothing. And she also said, she's like, nothing. And he was like, no, tell me. And I was like, I don't want to tell you because it's about the person I like. He's like, oh my gosh, tell me, I'll never tell anybody. So I told him, I was like, I like this boy, Jeffrey, like, I think he's really cute. And he gets up, immediately gets up, and he goes over and he tells him, and I die inside. And I don't think he was doing it to be mean. Well, maybe he was. But it definitely affected me. So I've never told anybody who I like. I'm starting to do that now because I have to get over it at some point. Like, it was in 2nd grade. I was probably like 7, and I'm like 23 now. So maybe that shouldn't be a problem anymore. But I don't know. So I've had a huge thing with like telling people that I like them or whatever. I remember there's like this classic thing of like people say, oh my gosh, my friend likes you, and then you look over at them and they wave or whatever, and like you get really excited because, oh my gosh, somebody likes you, maybe you like them, and it turns out that no, they don't like you, that they were literally just doing it to get a laugh, like, which wouldn't be so bad if I wasn't already super self-conscious. Like, this happens so often that, like, it doesn't happen anymore. This happened so often that I built up a super huge wall when even talking to anybody. Like, I can't tell you how many times that happened to me. Like, eventually I was just like, no, you don't. They'd be like, yeah, I do. Like, no, you don't. So I don't even know if people liked me or not. Because I built up this huge wall and I immediately deny. Like, there could have been somebody who liked me. I don't even know. But it's happened. It really has happened so many times. Like, yeah, I remember when I was maybe 16 and I lived up in New Hampshire. I went to, I think it was the Perfect A movie, or it's the one, it doesn't matter. I went to a movie, and I watched the movie with my dad, and it had gotten over and it was done, and my dad went in to finish watching the rest of another movie with my mom. He didn't pay, so I went to the bathroom because I was feeling sick, because I get sick at movie theaters, especially if it's like an action-y movie. Like, don't ever take me to a Star Wars movie. But I went out to go to the bathroom, and the guy didn't let me back in because I didn't have a ticket. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll just wait. So I sat out. There was like a circle of seats, I guess, around one of the concession stands. So I sat down at the concession stand, and I guess I just dozed off or whatever. This group of kids who were probably like 14 or 15 walked over to me, and they were saying, oh my gosh, my friend thinks you're cute, and he wants to talk to you, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no way. No, he doesn't. Like, I can see him from here. He's probably 14. And I, like, me having built up this huge wall, was like, no way. Like, this is so stupid. Like, I already know what's going on. And he walks over, and he puts his arm around me. Immediately, I'm like, nope, don't do that. Like, I'm not here to make you happy. I'm not here to make you laugh. I'm not here for you and your friends to make fun of me. That's not happening. So I pushed it off, and I pushed him away, and I said, I know what you're doing. It's not funny. I'm like, I'm not doing anything. Like, oh, yes you are. I know you are. Like, I know what you're doing. Stop it. But, you know, as teenage boys don't, he did not. So after a few minutes of me just not responding to him anymore, he kind of gave up and went away, which I was really happy about, because at that point, I had just given up. Like, there was no more, like, romantic ideas about anybody. I didn't like anybody, and I was just done. Like, I'm not gonna deal with people who pretend to like me and then my heart get crushed. Which, thinking back on it, probably not a great idea, because I was an emotional shut-in, and I was really mean about it, and it was a bad time. Very bad time. And, like, it definitely doesn't make you feel great when people are like, hey, I like you. Haha, just kidding. Haha, look at your face. Like, oh, you thought I liked you? Blah, blah, blah. Which is so sad. I remember being in class a lot of the times, and I was not that great in school. I didn't enjoy learning anything they were teaching us. I got pretty good grades for the most part. Like, after I actually started trying in school, I started getting good grades. There was a while where I was like getting D's and F's, but we don't talk about that. But I was getting like A's and B's, so I could just stare off into space and not really have to deal with any of the curriculum. Where I would lean back on my chair and like turn away so I could look out the window. And I remember I was in a science class. It was like we were doing, I don't know, something we did in the beginning of the day was we checked what time the sun was setting and what time it was rising. So we would see that today it rose at 7:15 instead of 7:14. And I wasn't really interested in that, so I kind of turned and looked away, and I was like looking out the window, and I think I was imagining something, because I have quite an imagination, and I was like smiling because whatever was happening was funny, or I liked it or whatever, and I like focused back in from my imagination, and two kids were staring at me, like one girl and one guy, and I immediately like looked away, and I like looked back, and they were both like, bro, she likes you. Like, oh no, I don't like you, I'm sorry, I was just staring off into space. Like, please don't think I like you. Most of the time it was me just being like, no, I don't like them. No, I don't like them. And it would be like, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. You totally like, you looked at them. Like, you totally like them. Like, no, stop talking about that. I don't like them. And a lot of the times it would get to a point where I would go home and I would cry. Or when I was in the hallway, I would cry because I didn't want anybody to think I liked them. Now, there's a lot of things where I actually did like people. Like, I remember when I was in my second middle school, I liked this kid, and his name was Grady, and I thought he was super cute, thought he was super funny. I really, really liked him, and I didn't want him to know that because I've literally been teased about liking guys before, so I don't know. I definitely made it like known that I liked him, but I didn't want him to know that I liked him. Like, it was very obvious to everybody else, but probably not him. But I was very obvious about it. Okay, so that's basically what I'm trying to say. So this girl, let's call her Lindsay. Lindsay was also a fan of Grady, and she really did not like that I liked him. And she wasn't a very smart girl. Like, one time she did the, like, Hitler salute with a teacher who was Jewish, and she took her out into the hallway, and she came back and she was crying. But she would often make fun of me for not wearing socks in gym. Now, at the time, I was not a fan of socks. I'm still not really a fan of socks. Like, right now, I'm even barefoot. But I'm in my own home, so it doesn't really matter. But she would always say, like, are you too poor to get socks? Like, why don't you ever wear socks? Like, your feet are gonna stink so bad. And there wasn't a reason that I didn't wear socks other than I just didn't like socks. So I never really let it bother me. But, like, inside it definitely bothered me. And this happened, like, 4 or 5 times, where eventually I couldn't ignore it anymore, and I would tell her, like, you need to stop. Like, you really need to stop talking to me about my not wearing socks. Be like, why? You stink feet, blah, blah, blah. Like, I remember we were doing the pacer test, and I hadn't put on socks because it's just not my thing. I didn't like socks. And I had just had enough of her telling me, like, you should be wearing socks, blah, blah, blah. Like, she wasn't even saying you should wear socks. She would say things like, oh my god, you stink so bad, like, why don't you wear socks, blah, blah, blah. And this was the time before, like, you really pay attention to how you smell, so I could have stunk, but I don't know. I don't think I stunk. Doesn't matter. I got so mad that I stomped over to her and I screamed at her so loud. Like, I was in the gym and she, like, started backing up. I was like, you don't ever talk to me like that. Don't ever talk to me ever again. I hate you, blah, 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 blah. Like, don't talk to me. And essentially, I just went off, and, like, I could see my gym teacher, because, like, we had to test our strength on this bar thing. I could see my gym teacher looking over, but he didn't say anything. And after it was done, I was, like, really huffy and kind of sad. Like, I don't want to be bullied anymore. And, like, luckily, he didn't say anything, so I was really happy about that. And I never really got bullied after that by her, which was really nice, because it was, being bullied is terrible. Like, it really does do stuff to your brain. Like, I still have problems with talking to people about certain things because I was bullied about them. Like, I don't really like to talk about anime or manga or like J-pop or K-pop because people are like, oh my god, you listen to Chinese music? Like, what the heck? Why are you listening? That you don't even know the words. Like, okay, you don't understand. It's fine. Like, I won't talk about it to you. Whatever. But, like, those kind of things, they really do mess you up inside because instead of wanting to share what you learn and what you hear and what you like, you have to hide everything up inside because you're afraid that people are going to make fun of you. And you should never be afraid that people are going to make fun of you. Because if you like something, you like something. Like, if you like juggling, I'm not going to make fun of you for juggling. Unless you're my friend, and then I might make fun of you for juggling, but in a fun way. But it just, if you are a bully, which you're probably not, think about what you are doing to a person when you say, my friend likes you, or I like you, and then you go and you laugh about it. And it doesn't do anybody any good being mean like that. It really doesn't. It only hurts you, only hurts your friends. And the more you perpetuate that behavior, the worse it becomes. And the worse everybody else feels about it. You get me? Well, I think that's about all I have to say on that topic, so I really appreciate how much support you guys have been giving me. Like, I can't tell you how much it means to me. And I've gone from 100-something subscribers to almost 1,000 in 2 weeks, and I can't tell you how much that means to me. It's so amazing, and I really, really, really appreciate every single one of you. I can't believe it. It's crazy to me. Anyway, if you liked this, please like and subscribe. It helps me out so much. You can't even imagine. And it makes me feel so good inside. And if anything like this has happened to you at all, let me know. Like, I'd love to hear your bully stories and how you dealt with it. Alright, I think that's it for me for today. Thank you so much. Bye.